Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to Unwoke Inc, a production by prageru by one of my favorite people who helped red pill me, Amala Ekinobi. So without further ado, let's get into this documentary and let's react together. The question is, has wokeism infiltrated our society? I think we all know the answer to that question, but let's watch anyway.
Amala interview, take one.
My name is Amala Ekinobi. I live in LA and I work for prageru. At this point in the 2020s, woke is everywhere. On billboards, in entertainment, in sports, on our clothes, in our schools, and in our businesses. And I kept wondering, how did this happen? We all feel it, and the feeling isn't a good one. As someone who was once on the far left, I worry that wokeism is ripping our country apart. At prageru, we have a slogan: don't just complain, do something. So I began asking questions. Where did wokeism come from? Is woke here to stay? And are there alternatives to wokeism? So began what would become a journey across the United States to try to find those answers. And perhaps, in finding those answers, we'll find a way to end wokeism once and for all.
Okay, I am already intrigued just by that intro alone. I love how she said wokeism is everywhere. It's in our clothes, it's in our music, it's in our TV shows, it's on the billboards. I mean, it literally is everywhere. It's everywhere. And I know people on the left are gonna say, oh, you're just being, fanatical, or you're just being crazy, you're exaggerating, but we're not. We're really not. Like, this really is, in my opinion, a plague of the wokies. Question is there a way to undo this? Undo the damage that has been done for decades upon decades? I sure hope so. Let's keep watching.
Vivek, what's woke?
Yeah, wokeness refers to being alert to invisible injustices perpetuated against disempowered classes of people, generally defined on genetically inherited characteristics like race, gender, and sexual orientation. Basically borrows from the tropes of Marxism, which was this oppressor-oppressed narrative. But wokeism was not just Marxism, it was the merger of Marxism with identity politics. The idea that you are nothing more and nothing less than the genetic stock that you inherit on the day you're born. So that's what you sort of refer to as the trend of modern wokeness.
Okay.
Now, this is a fringe philosophy. I mean, this was a theory from the halls of academia, and it was a challenge to the system. It was an interesting set of ideas. Does it mean it was all coherent? No, not necessarily, but it was interesting. It was provocative. It was a different way of looking at human relations. It was an interesting worldview in some classroom in some liberal arts university somewhere. Mm-hmm. But wokeness at some point moved from being about being a challenge to the system to becoming the system. So to really understand the origin story of wokeism, you have to understand academia first. That's where it was born. It was born as an infant there, became an adolescent somewhere else, but let's start with the infancy. That's where it began.
It is no shock to me at all that this all started, this all was created, this all was manufactured in liberal colleges. I actually did a full deep dive video just of this topic alone on how liberal campuses, in my opinion, have become indoctrination camps for Gen Z, and how you go to these campuses expecting to learn something, expecting to learn how to argue, how to debate, how to have a free thinking, critical mind, and you leave a woke zombie. It started at the college level, and somehow, some way, it has infiltrated itself into every other aspect of society. Vivek is definitely goals. I like him a lot. And what he said is just, in my opinion, is just the hardcore truth. It started in the campuses, and that is where it is metastasizing and growing into an even bigger monster. As I record this video, it's insane. Liberal campuses have become ground zero for this garbage.
At the end of the day, the rise of wokeism wasn't an overnight phenomenon. It's actually been in the works for years. So like many bad ideas, wokeism started in academia. But why? And why didn't it stay in the ivory tower? How did this cancer infect every other area of society? I needed to talk to somebody who understood academia, and from a long-term, multifaceted perspective. And so I traveled to Washington, D.C. to talk to a visionary who did something many people consider to be impossible. He founded a new college that now rivals the Ivy League. This is Michael Ferris. He started Patrick Henry College, a classical liberal arts college just outside of Washington, D.C. In only 20 years of the college's existence, Patrick Henry graduates have become leaders in the highest halls of power, including Congress, Hollywood, and the White House. And this sort of cultural impact was by design. Ferris has been fighting wokeism before it was even called wokeism. And more importantly, he's been winning.
And I dare anyone to read my legal analysis.
Through Patrick Henry College, Mike is taking the battle against woke to the source by educating new generations of students in a rigorous, truth-focused education. Where do you think wokeness started? What's your theory there?
Where I was seeing it mostly was in the schools of education. They were teaching there is no truth, but what they meant is we're going to undermine the objective truth that you believe in and pretend that all truth is relative. And we're going to follow that up eventually with our truth. And that idea is now we're going to jam our truth down your throat and you better kneel. You raise a generation that's told at the university that nobody can disagree with you. You take that attitude to campus, you think that's the way the whole world should be like, and that's what you believe, that's the way you were trained. And you will not be a friend of truth, you will not be a friend of freedom, you're going to be a friend of repressing anybody who doesn't follow the party line. The tyranny that's in place today believes that the heart, soul, and mind of man belongs to government. And that mantra has been taken up by big corporations and social media giants and so on. And that totalitarian impulse is the opposite of liberty or progressivism or anything, any of the traditional meanings of those terms. Our country was a liberal democracy. We're fast becoming a totalitarian, bureaucratically run country, not a democracy and not a republic.
That is the truest thing that I have ever heard. Liberals love to pretend that they are all about liberation and progressiveness of the mind and freedom of thought and freedom thinking. And they've become the exact opposite. They have become the fascist that they claim that conservatives are. No, it's actually their party and their ideology that breeds these cult-like members of people who are not critical thinkers. The moment you think differently than they do, the moment that you have a thought that challenges their core belief system, all of a sudden you get canceled, you get attacked, you get called every ism in the book, you are phobic, that's it, done. I mean, this happens over and over and over again. We see it in Hollywood, we see it in the corporate world, we see it in sports, it's everywhere. If you do not follow their model from start to finish, and you veer off, or you have a thought that does not comply to their understanding of what they believe life is supposed to be, you're canceled, you're done. And that is the opposite of liberalism. That is the opposite of freedom. There is nothing liberating with that mentality. You might as well put chains on yourself and just walk around with a ball and chain, because that's what it means nowadays to be a liberal. You cannot be a free thinker. Just can't.
So you teach a generation that truth is subjective and ever evolving. You brainwash them to accept no alternative viewpoints. It's the woke way or no way. And then you release them into every industry of our society. Perhaps the most pernicious infiltration? The indoctrination tool for the masses, entertainment. For years, everyday Americans have complained about woke Hollywood. But we're not here to complain. We want to create alternatives. So I decided to talk to a man who is doing just that, creating an alternative to Hollywood and multiple other industries.
One type of woman gets to express her opinions and her views. That is not... Oh my God!
Wait, that's not the man we're talking about. That is. Meet Jeremy Boring. Jeremy is the co-founder of a media and entertainment company called The Daily Wire. They push buttons, they tell the truth, and they're working every day to create both news and entertainment that is free from liberal bias.
In many ways, big media has become just a propaganda arm of the left, and Daily Wire wanted to correct that.
Welcome back to the comments.
We produce written articles, news articles, we produce podcasts. We're the 5th largest podcast publisher in the world. But beyond the Daily Wire, we've expanded into something we're calling Daily Wire Plus. And it's really a broader cultural entertainment play. We're making movies, we're making television shows, we're making kids entertainment, which I think is probably the most important fight we will ever take on.
I absolutely love this segment because it's so true. Like, if you're sick and tired of things being the way that they are, which most of us are, the only option is to create an alternative. And that's exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing people that are stepping up and stepping out and saying, you know what, we are sick and tired of the liberal way and this woke ideology, which is everywhere. We're sick of it. So we're going to go and we're going to create our own lane. You guys do what you want to do over there. We're going to be over here. And whoever wants to come, feel free to come. That is true capitalism. That is a true free society, being able to decide where you want to spend your dollars. I have every right to know where my money is going. And if you're representing an organization that I do not agree with, or you have an ideology that pushes an agenda that I do not agree with, I have every single right as a consumer to say, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to spend my money elsewhere. And the funny thing is that, liberals will complain and say, oh, conservatives are just being lazy and they're just being, babies and they're crying and they're not going to spend their money. We'll see how long that lasts. And the thing is, liberals do the same thing, right? I mean, when it came out that Chick-fil-A was giving money to conservative organizations, liberals lost their ever-loving minds. They boycotted and they canceled the entire food chain like immediately. And they decided that they were going to spend their money elsewhere. And you know what? That's their right to do that. It's called being a consumer. It's called an open free market. So why can't conservatives create their own lane if these organizations are tied to liberal agendas? See, that's the problem. These companies are not independent. These companies are marrying their product with an ideology that is very leftist. And they leave conservatives no other choice than to leave and create their own lane, which is exactly what is happening.
They've also started making some pretty awesome products that offer an alternative to woke companies and other industries as well.
Jeremy's Razors is a consumer goods alternative to companies like Gillette and Harry's Razors, who have all publicly embraced the LGBT agenda. And not just the LGBT agenda, the radical gender theory being pushed on children. Daily Wire Plus, 1 million plus paying subscribers right now. At Jeremy's Razors, we have sold over 100,000 razor subscriptions. I think all of that is because the half of the country that up until now has been divided by nothing, they've had no alternatives whatsoever, are eager and hungry to engage with those alternatives when they're presented, especially if we're not exploiting them, if we're actually providing value to them. Then I think that there's enormous opportunity to succeed.
Like I said, create your own lane, create your own alternative, and let the people decide what they want to do with their money. I think people on the left are scared of this, especially these woke companies, because you saw what happened to Bud Light. You saw what happened to Target, right? Their stocks went way down and they started freaking out. And so what these liberal woke companies would like to do is scare conservatives and scare these companies into believing that you cannot survive. You cannot do anything that mirrors success. Not because they care about your ideology, they care about your money. And they want you to stay put. But what they're realizing is that conservatives are free thinkers. Not just in the mind, but in the wallet.
Hollywood going woke was pretty easy to see coming. But what happened next, no one expected. Sports went woke. See that guy standing while everyone else is kneeling? That's Jonathan Isaac. He plays for the Orlando Magic in the NBA.
This is so cool. I actually did a shorts video here on YouTube with Jonathan Isaac. I think it got like over 2 million views. So thank you guys so much for watching and supporting my shorts. I do shorts all the time here on YouTube. And yeah, I definitely like this guy a lot. He's a free thinker. He is somebody who has a backbone, who's not going to just kneel, no pun intended, to liberal ideology and to their cult. And yeah, he definitely is a stand-up guy. And we need more men like him in sports, because the rest are just zombies.
He also happened to be one of the few NBA players who publicly expressed discomfort with supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. This all came to a head when the players on his team decided to collectively kneel during the national anthem. So he did what he felt was right. He stood. Now, Jonathan is launching his own apparel company called Unitus in hopes of bringing people together over love of God and country.
Unitus is a sports and apparel company, and the basis of it for me is freedom. You have companies that are in that field who have made a conscious decision to either attack or undermine Christian values. conservative values and things like that. And I think that they have the free choice to do so, as much as I disagree. But I feel that we also have a freedom to create what we want to create.
I mean, like I said earlier, this wouldn't be an issue if these companies would just leave the politics aside, right? Just sell us jeans, sell us coffee, sell us whatever you want to sell us without trying to also sell us an ideology that pushes a certain political agenda. And unfortunately, we live in a time right now where liberalism and the left is just in the DNA, in the fabric of all of these companies. And it's a really stupid strategy, in my opinion, because we know that half the country is conservative, half the country is right, half the country is not for liberal ideology and liberal beliefs. So when you start making these stances, what you're doing is you're alienating half of the country. And now people are starting to realize that there are alternatives, that there are other companies out there that are not going to be spending their dollars and spending their money to push and advocate indoctrination, which is exactly what is happening with so many of these woke companies.
But it didn't end in sports. We all know the story. It felt like the flip of a switch, like every company in America was suddenly spouting the woke orthodoxy, and anyone who disagreed with them was ousted, condemned, and silenced. A perfect example? Amanda Enzing.
People love to complain about the culture and the environment, but they don't do anything. We need to be creating our own verticals and our own industries where we're competing.
This is Amanda Enzing. She's an entrepreneur, a beauty influencer, and a general badass boss lady. She started out beauty influencing with sponsorships from Sephora and other huge makeup brands. But when armchair critics started criticizing Amanda for stating her personal political beliefs, Sephora immediately canceled her sponsorships and went so far as to publicly condemn Amanda.
So for me, I was like, you know what? The beauty industry is in shambles. It only caters to one party, one set of views. Let's create my own brand. Our first launch sold out within like a day or two. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, what? And just seeing how much women wanted this, I was like, wow. And I was scared. It's terrifying putting your story out there. And when you get canceled, and with all of these people now coming for me, it's scary at first to take that first leap. But once you do, you just don't stop.
Wow, this one really hits home for me, and I could relate so much on a very micro level because I'm nowhere near the success of an Amanda. But I used to be I guess you would call a beauty influencer. I used to do curly hair content and skincare content for curly hair and skincare companies, and they would pay me a lot of money to support their brand, to use their products, to show my before and afters. I used to do videos on YouTube all the time. Look who's back in the kitchen! Like I really use these. My name is Chucky, also known as CurlyBoyChuck, and today it is all about the hair mask. I literally was a model for one of the curly hair brands that canceled me. I was on their website, and now they won't even talk to me. And the only crime that I committed was I spoke out against children transitioning and being put on medication like Lupron as minors. I'm against it. I think children should not be transitioning their gender at that age, especially chemically and medically. I'm against it. And that got me canceled like that. And so I definitely relate to what she's saying. Again, not at her level because she definitely was way more successful than I was, but I was canceled in 2.5 seconds from all of the companies that I was working with. All of my Instagram friends who were cool with me suddenly didn't know who I was, unfollowed me, blocked me, all that good stuff. And I say all that to say deuces, because from that I was able to build a new path for myself, which is why I'm now doing YouTube content, and I do content on TikTok and now on Instagram, and I'm doing pretty well for myself. My platform is growing substantially because I'm speaking out and I'm speaking with conviction, and I'm no longer on the left. I'm no longer keeping my mouth shut to make other people happy, which is what so many people have to do in that realm. You have to just be quiet and just do what they want and say what they want and mimic what they want, and I'm no longer doing that. And now that I'm free, I feel like I am growing at such a faster rate because I am being authentically myself. And I'm unapologetically speaking truth. So sometimes you gotta just give up what is holding you down, that you think is holding you up. Give it up, be yourself, fight for truth, speak up, speak out, and you will be surprised how fast things start picking up for you.
America needs alternatives. Oh, and if you haven't already guessed, every single one of the people we interviewed is a perfect example of not just what fighting back looks like, but what winning looks like.
Well, I'll give you one of the insights from my investing days. It's a famous quote from Warren Buffett. Be brave where others are fearful. There's an economic opportunity. I think it might be one of the biggest economic opportunities of the next decade to serve the 100 million plus Americans, okay, who are badly disaffected from the places where they work, where they shop, where they bank, where they invest. These are also, from an economic standpoint, some of the best customers that any business could want. That is an economic opportunity. It might be the economic opportunity of our generation. One person can't do everything, but each person can look themselves in the mirror and ask, how am I going to have my own unique contributions? For me, it's in the financial institutions, in the asset management industry, and in capital markets. Somebody else might be starting a consumer products company. Somebody else might be starting a new university. Somebody else might be starting a new mode or new approach to entertainment. Each of us is making our own unique contributions. And I'm pretty optimistic that together, it's a mosaic that drives that change through true diversity, that dilutes the church of diversity to irrelevance.
Over the last few years, we've seen woke activists try to infiltrate every area of society: education, entertainment and media, sports, and business. And for many of us, that seems daunting. But talking with people like Vivek Ramaswamy, Mike Ferris, Jeremy Boring, Jonathan Isaac, and Amanda Enzing, we have proof that you can push back and make a cultural impact by providing alternatives. We know we're not going to change everybody's mind on these issues, and that's okay. The goal is to create a society where even if nobody's mind changed, we can all live together in a pluralistic, prosperous, civil United States. And I want to invite you on that journey. Together, we can fight wokeism in academia, in the culture, in business. But it's not just about conservatives making alternatives for other conservatives. We need more people creating just flat-out good products, media, education, you name it. We need alternatives that are good for society and good for America. I'm ready to try. How about you?
Bravo, Amala. Bravo for a tremendous documentary. It spoke on all of the aspects of our society. And what I got most from it is we can't just sit back and do nothing, right? We can sit and complain till we're blue in the face. But if you aren't actively pushing forth against this push from the left, then what are you doing? Even if it's the smallest thing, like for me, what I'm doing is I'm creating content as much as I possibly can on all social media platforms, fighting against the liberalism, fighting against the ideology, fighting against the indoctrination. That's how I'm choosing to use my platform, as opposed to, like I said, just doing curly hair content and being superficial. Not anymore. I'm now speaking up and I'm speaking out. And you can do the exact same thing. You can spend your money with companies who actually value what you value, as opposed to just giving your money and throwing it away to companies that are pushing an agenda and that is being a huge detriment to our society. We no longer have to sit by and just take it on the chin. We actually can fight back. And the best ways to fight back is with our dollars. Trust and believe these woke companies are starting to wake up for real this time, and they're realizing that people are no longer going to just stay silent for their political agenda. And I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect some things may be changing in the future when it comes to how they interact and how they implement their belief systems. I'm just saying, maybe, but we will be watching. If you enjoy my content, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit my notification bell so you know when I post a new video. I'm trying to post at least once a week. I was going to try to shoot for 2 to 3 times a week, but I work a full-time schedule aside from doing YouTube, so I got to slow down just a little bit. But I promise you guys, at least once a week, you'll be seeing my pretty face. If you guys also want to connect with me on Instagram and TikTok, definitely hit me up. Follow me there. I do answer my DMs and I do talk, so let's connect. And if you guys want to support my channel financially, I do have a PayPal and a Cash App link in my description down below. All money and resources will go back into this channel so I can continue to fight the good fight and make these videos. Until next time, peace.